My Life and Ethiopia's Progress, Chapter 45, The Battle of Maytchew. While we were at the Batawayo camp on Sunday the 20th of Magabit, 1928, which is the 29th of March, 1936 in the Gregorian calendar, enemy aircraft, coming and going continuously, spent the day dropping bombs and poison gas. We gave orders for the battle to begin on the next day, Monday, and we set out from Batawayo on Sunday at 11 o'clock, which is 5 p.m. in Western Perceptional Time. To approach more closely to the place of engagement, we spent the night at Mahan. On Monday, the 21st of Megabit, which is the 30th of March, as the army, which had been grouped into its various contingents, was not yet fully assembled. The joining of battle could not take place on the Monday, and we arranged spending the day at Mehan. At this place, there was no cave adequate for protection against attacks from the air. When they told us, having found a small cave, that we should go there, and that the cave was insufficient for the whole army, I said to them, I won't go there leaving my people, for just as I have a shared joy with my people, so shall I inseparably share its tribulation. So I remained there. We had determined that the battle be waged on Tuesday, the 22nd of Megabit, which is the 31st of March, on the preceding day, on the basis of the prepared plan. We had given orders that the mustered ranks in their various contingents should march that night and get close to the battle area, and that fighting should start at dawn. When the army, in its respective divisions, marched off in accordance with its orders and reached its destination close to the front, it spent the night there. We ourselves set out from Mehan at 10 o'clock at night, which is 4 a.m. in the Western Perceptional Time, and marched towards the battlefield. Our advanced troops were marching in the hours of darkness with the intention of approaching the enemy's fortified positions. When the enemy's night patrols sounded the noise of fire in order to wake up their side, our army, while still on the march, began shooting in the direction in which the sound of firing had been heard. They thus started shooting at a place called Mehan in the Maytchew area, where the Italian soldiers were firmly entrenched in fortified positions. And since the fighting had been opened by an accidental shot prior to the plan which we had devised, we gave orders for the regular battle to begin. And so the fighting started to develop. As our army moved forward with enthusiasm and reached the enemy's fortifications, the enemy troops abandoned the forward positions and were seen to defend a second, more heavily fortified line towards the rear. Within 4 or 5 hours, enemy aircraft arrived, dropped bombs, and cut off our army at the rear, preventing it from coming to the aid of the advanced troops at the front. At this time, the enemy army was recovering once again and began fighting hard to re-enter the strongholds which it had abandoned. Our forces spent the whole day fighting with an ardent spirit and with daring. The battle did not cease until 5 o'clock at night, which is 11 p.m. in the Western Perceptional Time. In this day's fighting, many nobles and army officers died, sacrificing their life for their country. While we ourselves were in this kind of struggle, and as it became evening, we returned to Mahen, where we had spent the night yesterday. Since our army had greatly suffered in the fighting, most of them marched at night to Batawayo and rested there. Some troops spent the night near to the enemy's fortified lines and kept up a running fire throughout the night. Wednesday, the 23rd of Megabit, which is the 1st of April, we spent the day at Mahan and gave orders for the wounded to be carried in and the dead to be buried. Some of the troops, their ardor having been aroused, went to the enemy trenches and spent the day fighting there. The day of Thursday, the 24th of Megabit, which is the 2nd of April, we again spent at Mahan. When on this day we informed the army officers of our intention of having the battle renewed, all those who had assessed the situation remarked to us as follows. Since our armies marched from Tuesday evening till today to the Batawayo camp, We are now very few who are present here. We do not have enough troops for a battle. The place where we are now is a dangerous one because there is nothing at all here that represents protective cover against aeroplanes. For this reason, we went to Batawayo. It would be better if we fought once we had reassembled and remobilized the army. We replied to them, if we pull out our foothold from here, the renewal of the battle will not take place. Hence, it is preferable for us here to fight. At this time, His Highness Ras Kassa and His Highness Ras Seyum were uneasy at our decision and said, to fight before there are sufficient troops for the battle means dying and perishing in vain. Since they persuaded us by detailing all the reasons, we left for Batawayo at 6 o'clock at night, which is midnight, following the counsel which the army officer had proffered to us. We spent the day of Friday, the 25th of Megabit, which is the 3rd of April, at the Batawayo cave. While we were there, it was learned that the Italians had reoccupied the fortified positions which they had abandoned last Tuesday. In consequence of this, we directed that an army contingent guarding the mountain passes be stationed at the places said to be suitable for defending the surroundings of Batawayo, so as to enable us to resist the invading enemy. We then proceeded to devise military plans for the future in consultation with the army commanders. The places referred to are the other mountain passes at the central camp of Batawayo, where we were, and the following are the army commanders who were ordered there for guard duty. 1. The Judge Haile Kabede with the army of Sekota to be stationed at the pass between the Bokra and Mahen mountains. 2. Ras-Getachew at the 3 passes which are situated between the mountain barrier of Hayo and Adbam Mazu. 3. From the cave at the rear of the mountain barrier of Hayo up to Mahen, Raskabeda Mangesha. 4. It was arranged that the contingent of the palace ministry should be encamped at the mountain pass near Hayo Mikaya. Before the army officers whom we had detailed to guard duties at the passes could reach the places and occupy the passes, the enemy army had come out from its trenches and was seen to enter Mahen, where we had rested on the previous day. The place called Mahen is near to Batawayo, where we now were. We had observed the initial stages of the enemy's march, and, since he had emerged from his fortified positions, it seemed possible to engage him on the plains, particularly as it was bound to be the beginning of a march towards us. We therefore transmitted orders to the various commanders. Take up positions for immediate running fire in order to fight from those positions. As the enemy aircraft were going to and fro, they hit our camp uninterruptedly, and we ourselves, not expected, were resisting by firing the Olecon. The enemy army, which had entered Mahen, had abandoned an engagement on the plains or an advance towards us, and was engaged in constructing fortifications there. Then, firing its guns, it began to hit our soldiers' camps with long-range artillery. At this time, our troops were fed up, as they had suffered much injury from the bombs and poison gas which the aircraft above were raining upon them, as well as from the firing of guns below. Thus the army began to dissolve and turned round to march towards Korem. Because in this manner our entire plan which we had conceived to fight at Batawayo had come to grief, the nobles and the army commanders approached us and proffered to us the following opinion. It would be better if we fought at Ashange after returning to Korem and assembling the army there. If we fail to succeed there, it would be preferable if we fought taking up positions in Lasta, in Yaju, or in Walo. After this, we desired that all the army commanders should assemble and reflect about this. All of them, therefore, congregated in front of us and expressed their counsel in detail. They assured us on oath that the advice which they had offered sprang from a true conscience. We cautioned them in these terms: since man is God's tool, unless I should say that which you have told me is fraudulent, you have assured me on oath that it is absolutely firm. I shall therefore go as far as Alamata. But pray to God and, while suppressing mutual rivalry, reflect on our sins, arouse your servants and your retinue, and think what it is you are dying for rather than being concerned over living. After this, we directed that the provisions and arms which were at Batawayo should be distributed to the army officers, and we gave orders that the remaining weapons and supplies should be set on fire, lest they be of service to the enemy. We then departed from Kurem at 3:30 o'clock at night, which is 9:30 p.m. New Western Perceptional Time. When we reached Ashange in the morning of Saturday, 26th of Megabit, which is the 4th of April, enemy aeroplanes came in great numbers and hit with bombs our army marching at Ashange. We ourselves left Lake Ashange on the left and spent the day near Ashange Mariam, which is in the direction towards the right. And that evening, we marched on and spent the night at Enda Agafari. Sunday, the 27th of Megabit, which is the 5th of April, we stayed the day at Enda Agafari. On this day, the Italians had sent their army, which they had at Corbata, down in the Chacha lowlands in order to encircle the Ashange region where we had spent the night. We had heard that their army, reaching Korem and Alamata before ours, had occupied the place. Our army, which was marching along there, suffered heavy losses as it was hit by Italian aeroplanes and by worthless country folk launching attacks upon it. Those who survived scattered and proceeded by way of Lasta. It became thus impossible for us to carry out our plan to fight.